Welcome back. Joining us now is Dave Palmer. He's senior counsel at the Center for Popular Democracy and Action, and he's also the organizer of the Time to Deliver rally in Brooklyn, New York yesterday. Dave, thanks so much for joining us. How are you?
I'm well. Thanks so much for having me. Appreciate it.
The pleasure is ours. I want to run a couple of clips from the protest yesterday, but before we do that, could you tell us the purpose? Why were people out in the streets yesterday, and what message were they trying to send?
Yeah, so I'm directing a coalition called the Fair Elections for New York Coalition, and we're focused, like the rest of the country, on passing the Freedom to Vote Act and the John Lewis Voter Rights Advancement Act. And we teamed up with other groups in New York who are, and there's overlap with these coalitions that are focused on the Build Back a Better agenda. And to deliver the same message to Chuck Schumer, we're kind of lucky to have the Senate Majority Leader as our senator. And so we see it as our duty to keep the pressure on there. He's an important player in getting these things done. And our message was, it's time to deliver. I believe that Chuck Schumer is actually trying to get this done. And sometimes when that's the case, you leave people alone. But this is too important. And you never know what's happening behind the scenes. You never know how hard someone is pushing. Right. And so we're going to be pushing until the end, until he delivers on both the Build Back Better agenda and the Freedom to Vote Act and John Lewis Voter Rights Advancement Act.
No, I am a strong proponent of using the protest power to hold those people who are in power accountable, even if it looks like they're doing what we want. Like you said, we don't know what's going on behind the scenes. So thank you for keeping this pressure on. I want to run this first clip. It's of our friend Cliff Albright from Black Voters Matter. He was there yesterday. Let's take a listen into this clip.
But this is challenging. It was challenging for me to be here because I come to you this morning from the state of Georgia. About 9 months ago in the state of Georgia, in November and January, we had massive turnout, historic turnout. Black voters came out in the midst of a pandemic, in the middle of the winter, and shocked the world in November, and then had the audacity to come back and do it again in January with not just one Senate seat, but 2 Senate seats. That's what gave Democrats power of both houses of Congress. In fact, that's what made Senator Schumer able to be majority leader. 9 months later, we're still waiting. So I had to come here today, along for all y'all, to deliver a message to Senator Schumer that it's time to deliver. Yes. And in order for him to deliver, he's got to be willing, he's got to use all his force to end the filibuster. Freedom Vote Act has a lot of stuff that deals with voter access that we all need. Folks in New York want to have Election Day be a national holiday, right? Folks in New York want to have automatic voter registration, right? Folks in New York want to see campaign finance reform, right? And as Dr. King reminded us some time ago, he said we are all connected. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. And I'm going to extend his remarks a little bit and say voter suppression anywhere is a threat to our voting rights everywhere. We can't move on immigration. We can't move on climate. We can't move on education, on housing, and all the issues that we care about. We can't move until we've got a Congress that reflects the people. We can't get a Congress that reflects the people as long as voter suppression exists in any state.
Now, listen, every time I hear that brother talk, I feel like we're going to church. Shout out to Cliff. And I just noticed the play on words here. 9 months in, it's time to deliver. I mean, really, what is the excuse? I mean, Cliff was hitting on all the points. We delivered November. We delivered in January. Why are we 9 months in? Because if I'm not mistaken, this is a longer amount of time than it took for Donald Trump and Paul Ryan to execute their tax breaks. And here we are. We've given Joe Biden everything. Talk to us about why 9 months later they need to go ahead and give birth to something for the people who did something for them.
You know, there's a couple reasons, I think. One is that the politics are not ideal. In New York, we're very familiar with what it means to have a Senate that's a 50-50 split, because here we had some rogue Democrats create their own operation and kind of thwart a bunch of policy agendas. In D.C., it's somewhat similar. You have a couple of moderates in the Senate that are are kind of, making it a slow roll here, and there's no guarantee of victory. So Schumer is facing that. That's real. I also think, and I don't know if everyone agrees with me on this one, but I think Biden made a mistake by putting forward the Build Back Better agenda right now, because democracy is an emergency, and the wins that we might get on Build Back Better could be taken back if we have minority rule in this country very soon. I almost called you this morning to say you should have Charles Blow on instead of me. I don't know if you saw his piece in the Times yesterday. It said last chance to save American democracy. And I don't remember the exact line, but it was something like, even if you have, child care, you're going to have child care in a fascist state. You may have glistening infrastructure, but you're going to have glistening infrastructure in a fascist state. So that's right. I think, my sense is that the Biden administration doesn't have their hair on fire appropriately to deal with democracy. We have voter suppression bills where Republicans are trying to suppress his votes, essentially, in the states. They're trying to redraw maps so that they can have minority rule so that Republicans can get elected. Big money has dominated our politics for a long time, and that's going to continue unless we do something about it. And then we all know about the big lie. And, that's kind of what's undergirding some of these attacks against democracy based on a false premise. And the Freedom to Vote Act would do something about that, too. So that this is not being prioritized and is taking this long is beyond me, but deeply unsettling, to say the least.
Yeah. No, I have to read that piece by Charles Blow, his book, The Devil You Know, excellent book. And tell Charles to unblock me off of Twitter. That was back in 2016. That was a whole another lifetime ago. I'd love to have him on the show, actually. That said, let's play this next clip because you had some powerful voices at the protest yesterday. Here is a clip of New York City public advocate Jermaine Williams at the same rally.
We spent a whole summer in the streets. We didn't say build back the same. We said build back better. We will not return to normal. And so I get tired when I hear people say, let's go back to normal, going back to normal. Hell no. Normal didn't work for the majority of New Yorkers. It didn't work for the majority of Americans. We have to get back better than normal. Democrats, I've had a problem with y'all. I'm just going to be real about that. Democrats been part of the problem for a very long time. You told us if people like me said, let's get Democrats in office, if people like me would just say, Trump is really bad, so let's just get him out of office, things will be different. Now, for the past couple months, I ain't gonna lie, I seen Chuck in the right places. I see him saying and doing the right things and trying to push the right agenda. But I'm a basketball fan. The game is 48 minutes. You can play good for 30 minutes, 35 minutes. You could play excellent for 47 and a half minutes. But if you don't play well for the whole game, everything can go down the drain. We spread it up. We coming down. We're in the last minute of the game. And Chuck, we're going to lose the game if you don't hit these free throws. I'm coming out today to say I appreciate the game you're playing, but hit them free throws or we're going to remember. Donald Trump could have gave us more of the same. I want the Democrats to give us better. That's when I put my name on the line.
I got nothing because they said it all. Help us to understand what we should be demanding in this moment and how the people who are watching this can actually help make that happen with their voices.
Yeah. I love his analogy, and I've been throwing around another analogy. It's like if lawmaking were a card game, the majority leader has the best cards always, and they know what cards other players have. And so I think that was Jumani's point, is that, like, you got to go hard till the end. And that was my point earlier, too. We don't know what it looks like on the inside sometimes, but we want to make sure that Schumer throws down his aces at the end of this, because if he comes home without it, that means it wasn't enough. And so It's really important for people to be weighing in. I think whether you live in New York or not, you can weigh in with the Senate Majority Leader and with the Speaker of the House.